What's up, gamers, and welcome to another edition of Random News of Gaming, the monthly gaming news show that gives you all the things you really care about in the most untimely fashion imaginable. Hope you all in America had a good Labor Day weekend. I sure did, which is why this video is late and gay. Despite me uploading literally no videos in the month of August, we have reached 1,000 subscribers here on the channel, and for that, I wanted to say thank you to anyone who has stuck around. This channel is like 7 years old now, so most of them are gonna be like old or dead accounts or something, I think. But regardless, we're gonna celebrate anyway, and watch me suffer through one of the most based games ever made on stream. And maybe some other things, I don't know. So keep an eye out for that. Anyway, that's the only important announcement. I'll save the rest for the outro. Now, let's see what kind of nonsense happened in August. One story that seems to have flown under the radar a bit early in the month was regarding the Japanese stock market, and I think this might be a bit more important than the rest of the news from last month. Due to all the fuckery going on in the economy right now, a lot of Japanese and some Asian game companies' stock prices took a huge hit, with Capcom dropping 16%, Nintendo dropping 15%, Sega and Nexon 13%. It's been a bit of a rough month for corporations over there, which is kinda odd considering all the success that those companies I just listed have been having recently, like Nintendo with their next system right around the corner. You'd think that they'd be able to weather the storm better than this, but it's not just tech companies that are dropping over there, it's pretty much everything. And if you thought that sounds bad, tech companies in the US are being hit even harder, such as Intel and their stock value dropping by 50%. Ouch. A lot of investors and, well, people in general, are speculating we are about to have another bad recession here in the States. So a lot of investors pulling out of tech companies is likely the result of that. But I wanted to highlight the Asian market drop specifically for another story later on. On another note, we had a few high-profile game releases in August, with the most prominent one being Black Myth Wukong. This game had been shown off for quite a long time, and now it's finally out, and it's breaking records with over 2.4 million peak concurrent players on Steam, and it ended up selling over 10 million copies in the first week. So hats off to game science. Turns out you just need to put out a good game with no bullshit attached, except to Nuvo I guess, and people will buy it. Now, a lot of horrendously brain-dead drama took over the internet for a few days as a result of this game's launch. One being that people were doubting the numbers that were being put out, which is always possible, but you gotta remember, this is a Chinese game about one of their most famous mythological stories. I wouldn't be surprised if like over 90% of the game's sales and concurrent player count were legit sales from the Asian market. A lot of people were questioning the concurrent player trend because it looks like this, but this would explain what time zone the majority of sales from, especially in China, where they have limited gaming time and other weird restrictions, so they're all playing it around the same allotted time. This game also saw some completely unwarranted insertion into our petty culture war, and there's a lot of theorizing that this was part of the game's marketing, and many people were totally played. If you remember 2 months ago, Game Science was allegedly in contact with those corpo consultants and allegedly told them to get lost. So the mainstream media has been trying to damage this game's reputation as much as possible until launch by calling the devs racist, sexist, etc. because of some not so serious comments some of the developers made in the past. Then they tried to slander the game for lacking diversity and inclusion. Whatever that's supposed to mean in a game about a monkey in a world of monsters. It's all so tiresome. Meanwhile, all these petty complaints from journalists caused the other side, the anti-woke, anti-commie crowd, to basically bandwagon for the game's success. So their terminally online brain rot has caused them to simp for a Chinese company.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
I mean, this game would have been successful regardless of all this nonsense anyway, but it was cringe-inducing to watch this all play out. Now the other games that came out are, well, one of them was Sony's Concord. I say was because this game is going to be dead very soon, probably by the time I finish this video, at least on PC. It's a live service shooter with only 697 peak concurrent players on Steam, and lately has only been getting less than 200 at most on the daily. We don't know what the numbers are like on PlayStation. Estimates are around 25,000 total sales, but even still, this is clearly a very monumental failure because it's been in development for 8 years, with an estimated budget of over $100 million. Having the PlayStation Network requirement that Sony keeps trying to shove down PC gamers' throats definitely isn't helping. It also accomplished an impossible task, defeating Rule 34. The characters in the game are so unappealing, there were no results for Concord on Rule 34, from first reveal on May 30th all the way to launch date and beyond. Unfortunately, someone ruined that sometime between launch day and now, but still, that's quite the accomplishment. Hey, Future Chow here. I know this didn't happen in August, but PlayStation announced the game will be shutting down, and it's already delisted from sale. Holy shit. Only a few weeks after launch. PlayStation put out this blog post with comments disabled, of course, and gave people instructions on how to get a refund from whatever storefront they bought the game. Wow. I mean, I expected the game to die completely in a short time for a live service, but not this early, so I guess I called it? Anyway, Future Chow out. Another failure from the last month, Dustborn. If you haven't heard much about this game up until now, prepare to get angry. I had this game featured in my top 10 worst things shown at the June Summer Showcases video, and I regret not putting it much higher. It should have been at number 1. But I didn't know what I know now. This game is basically nothing but extreme left-wing propaganda, and it deserves to be called that, not just because of the horrendous design and story about wandering checkbox minorities in a hipster punk band who are fighting disinformation and literally have the power to cancel people. No, I'm not making that up, it's literally in the game. If it was all just that, we could just laugh it off as another dumb woke flop game that can't even break 100 concurrent players despite being shoved into our faces at every opportunity during those game showcases and should be ignored. But this game is not just that. It was actually funded by taxpayer money, at least partially, both from the Norwegian Film Institute, which received 150,000 euros from the Creative European Union grant program, as well as a grant from the United States Department of State via the U.S. Embassy in the Netherlands for approximately $275,000. The cause? To create counter-disinformation video game and to develop and implement data collection and analysis methodologies. The fuck is the government doing funding video games, or any entertainment for that matter? As much as I love video games, I don't want a single cent of government money going to entertainment companies, period. This game is literal propaganda, nothing more, nothing less. And I don't know about you, but I've seen some of the game's subject matter, and it's alarming, to say the least. You can look into that on your own time if you want. And I want to mention that this definitely isn't the only video game being funded by tax money. There's probably a deep rabbit hole to go down on this topic that I don't have time for right now. But if you find anything interesting, you can always tag me on Twitter or post it in my Discord. Oh yeah, Star Wars Outlaws also came out recently. Nobody seems to care. It's just another Ubi slop. Aside from those game releases, it was a rather uneventful month, mostly just drama taking up the news cycle more than anything, so here's a roundup of quick stories. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, even more censored than we thought. Turns out they are also removing lines about a Vietnam vet guy ranting about commies, as well as a mechanic that gives you points for taking interesting pictures of women for points or something. So along with a race-swapped character from the previous story, keep all this in mind if you were looking forward to it. Capcom also announced that there will be some changes to the upcoming collection of classic games. We don't know exactly what yet, so I'll keep you updated. ROMhacking.net winds down operations due to some drama between the owner and some other party that was getting pretty nasty from the sounds of it. I don't know all the details, probably for the best, but due to that as well as an increasing copyright takedown pressure, it may cease operation at some point in the near future. The site is still accessible for now, but just keep that in mind. After Microsoft shut them down back in May, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks and their IPs are acquired by Krafton, the developers behind PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or PUBG. So now, a Hi-Fi Rush 2 is technically a possibility, but since the lead guy behind the game left before Tango was shut down, I would not expect it to reach the acclaim the first one did. If this ever gets announced, keep your expectations in check. Recently, an initiative was launched called Stop Killing Games, basically a petition to stop companies from denying access to purchase digital games after a period of time, requiring an end-of-life service plan for always-online titles to allow people to keep playing offline. I don't know if this will work, and it definitely wouldn't work here in the US, but they might have a chance in the EU, where the petition is targeting. The PS5 is getting yet another price hike in Japan. Truly another sign that they do not give a singular fuck about the Japanese market anymore, because this is like the third time this has happened. Take a look at this graph here. How in the hell can you justify buying this thing if the price keeps going up? And how can you justify it when it has no games?
One game, I don't know why.
But seriously, some people are speculating this was to make up for the abject failure that was Concord, but good luck. Next, remember what I mentioned about the tech market earlier? Well, it may be related to this story, but that's just an uneducated guess on my part. NetEase plans to shut down Ouka, who just recently made the game Visions of Mana under contract from Squeenix. Like, this was announced within a day of the game's release, which is just absurd to think about. But the larger story includes NetEase as a whole, as well as Tencent, two of the biggest Chinese publishers, scaling back their operations in Japan in general.
Don't trust China! China is asshole!
Ouka just happened to be one of the big casualties of this plan early on. It sucks because Visions of Mana appears to be a pretty decent game. Lastly, we got a few GameStop-related stories, starting with Game Informer shutting down after 33 years of publishing. It really was only a matter of time since magazines are redundant now. Lots of people were disappointed about this, but, you know, you could have just kept buying it to keep it going, but I guess you didn't really care all that much after all? GameStop also announced that they will be opening new stores, retro stores, so now you might find another shop for your old school gaming needs near you, although I don't expect this to be successful at all. In my opinion, GameStop was one of the leading contributors to the decline of physical gaming media with all their terrible business practices, mistreatment of employees, and all the other shit they've pulled over the years. And COVID. Nobody wants to go there anymore. This is just an act of desperation from a dying brand, and I can only imagine how quickly this will get shut down. I don't live in a big city, but we have 2 retro game stores already here, so there's no point in GameStop trying to encroach on their ground. Lastly, we have a funny one. GameStop had to put out this statement here in relation to one of their lightsaber toy products. So, what's the problem with a toy lightsaber? Been a thing for quite a while, right? Well, take a closer look at the box. Apparently, some prankster thought it would be funny to stick this on here and, well, they were right, just saying. And whoever wrote the statement at GameStop seems to think so too, based on the way the thing reads. Now that we've covered all the important bits, time for the worst take of the month. If you've seen where this segment usually goes, I want you to take a guess which fanbase will be featured this time for worst take. PlayStation fanboys, you say? Actually, you're wrong.
Okay, I believe you.
Who am I kidding? Of course it's the ponies again. Every goddamn month they say the most deranged shit, and this time we have a case where this guy might actually get himself into some trouble. Though, from what I hear, he has a history of this idiocy and he's still around, so... Anyway, get a load of this.
Sony PlayStation leadership wanted to please PC pedo rapist terrorists. The PlayStation community is being taken advantage of. I'm glad PlayStation gamers are finally understanding my position, and the truth is, they're erase Sony the leadership through any means these make a difference.
Huh?
Here we go again with someone calling PC players pedos and more for no apparent reason other than the fact you are so goddamn mad that PlayStation is releasing games on PC so you can no longer claim to have exclusives for your precious box. And not only that, you posted a veiled threat to, well, his next tweet spells it out pretty clearly.
Like I'd give a fuck if I had military power. Sony PlayStation HQ would be painted red already, FOH.
My god, this is the most deranged fanboy of the month by far. And I've heard this dude has been banned for similar things on X-Twitter before this, so I guess he never learned anything. Clearly, because he kept it up 3 weeks later.
Jim Ryan may have left Sony, but his crime is worthy of a Sicario execution at the dinner table. Xbox is dying from PC and Nintendo is thriving without PC, but these molesters, lying frauds at PlayStation think they can get everyone without losing anyone. It don't work like that, it's war.
Yeah, I think this was the correct choice for the worst take of the month, holy shit. Taking this stupid twatter console war to such a level is beyond deranged, and this guy probably should be committed. Although, maybe it is PlayStation's fault after all. If only they had some games to play on PS5 instead.
One game, I don't know why. I bought a PS5 with no games to buy.
Now that we got that nutcase out of the way, let's move on to last month's showcases. First, we had a THQ Nordic showcase on August 2nd, which was solid. Got a first look at the new Titan Quest and a teaser for a new Darksiders game. Next, we have Playism Game Show on August 8th, which showed off a handful of some decent-looking niche weeb games, but every single game shown here I had already heard of before. Next was QuakeCon starting on the 8th. There was nothing new here, unless you're interested in Doom mods and stuff. Next was Tiny Teams, hosted by the Yogscast, starting on the 8th, and oh my god, I do not want to go through all of this, holy shit. 31 videos, most of which are over 2 hours long. No. If anyone knows where I can find a roundup of everything shown off here, let me know. Then the big event, I guess. Gamescom opening night live on August 20th. I hated it. I mean, not because of the games, but because of all the bullshit that Jeff Keighley's shows regularly present us with, such as an arbitrary fake environmentalism award that they gave to fucking Tencent in the middle of the show. Tencent, who is one of the show's sponsors. Okay.
Well, I think this guy is pretty suspicious.
Following that, Xbox had a big presence at Gamescom with 3 different streams, but all they did was spend time talking about the games that were already announced. Next was Into the Infinite, a Level Infinite showcase on the 21st, which was not bad, but mostly old news. YouTube screwed this presentation with all the stuttering though, holy shit. Made the games look worse than they really are. Then there was the Future Games show at Gamescom on the 22nd. This show was not bad, had a few new things. Could do with less talking though. Lastly, there was the Nintendo Indie World and Partner Direct double feature on the 27th. You can actually see my own reaction to this on one of my live streams if you want. Indie World was trash, waste of time, and the Partner Direct had some interesting surprises. Just please stop with all the timed console exclusive bullshit. That rounds up all the shows from August. There was also PAX, but that starts on the 30th and goes through September, so if it's worth talking about, I'll bring it up next time. Time for the releases, and oh man, we have a new record. Again. 57 new games. Man. Alright, let's get into it. We do have a few from July, starting with Kokorowa's Onigiri Delivery on July 4th, a spin-off game based on Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, the best game of 2020, just saying. This is a puzzle game where you play as Kokorowa and solve puzzles to deliver onigiri to her good friend Sakuna. Isn't that just adorable? Go play Sakuna. Next we got Illusion Carnival on July 11th, which is a free game, so go get it. Do I need to explain what it is? No, it's free. Go get it. But anyway, it's a horror-inspired cartoony RPG with a pop-up paper style. We got a bundle of games that came out on July 31st, starting with BioGun, a 2D Metroidvania where you play as a microscopic being trying to cure a dog of some weird infections or something. Interesting. Another one to my list, I suppose. Next is Hololive Treasure Mountain, a 3D physics puzzle game where you try and stack as many VTuber heads onto the island as you can, like that fruit game on Switch, but in 3D, but much more weeb. Next is Mars 2120, a 2.5D Metroidvania on Mars. It says it's inspired by Super Metroid and stuff, so it must be good, right? I'd hope. On to the list it goes. Next we have Perfect Cells Project, which I definitely can't show on the video because it's a Metroidvania where you play as a pink shape-shifting blob-looking experimental being that's totally not shaped like a penis by default and get quote-unquote revenge on all the sexy researchers. Looks like it's not being received well, but I might have to play it for the sake of my list, eventually. Last, we have Smack Studio out of Early Access, a platform fighter like Smash, but with what looks like a fully customizable character creation system. Sounds ambitious. Now, we have 50 fucking games from August. You know what, let's speed through them quickly, otherwise this video will never get done and it's already late and gay. Kitsune Tails on August 1st, a 2D platformer for questioning furries or something and people into Yuri. Thank Goodness You're Here on August 1st. British humor simulator, basically, with a lot of cartoony chaos. Motör Doom on August 2nd, a roguelite horde shooter on a bike. Do some sick tricks and kill everything in brutal metal style. Unrooted on August 2nd, a 2D precision platformer where you play as a little sapling trying to reach his destination at the highest point. CYGNI All Guns Blazing on August 5th, a 2.5D shooter inspired by the arcade classics. Just be wary since it's published by Konami and is probably overpriced. Eden Genesis on August 6th, a cyberpunk precision platformer where the main character is trying to cure her illness caused by cybernetic implants. Volgar the Viking 2 on August 6th, an action platformer inspired by the olden days of the Genesis and Super Nintendo. Creatures of Ava on August 7th, an action-adventure game where you catch creatures, the hippie environmentalist way. The game won Games of Impact at Gamescom, so know what you're getting into. Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit on August 7th. It's FNAF. You probably already have it if you're a fan, but this one is stylized pixel art like an old-school Genesis or Super Nintendo game. Skelethrone, The Chronicles of Erakonia on August 7th, another one of those Souls-like inspired Metroidvania games. Cat Quest 3 on August 8th, the third entry in this casual cat-themed RPG adventure. Deathbound on August 8th, August Souls-like of the month set in a dystopia where religion and science are at war. Depersonalization came out of early access on August 8th, a turn-based investigation RPG with all sorts of RNG mechanics. Yay. Ichima-san on August 8th, a stealth game where you sneak around as a traditional Japanese doll and try not to get noticed. SteamWorld Heist on August 8th, another entry in the SteamWorld franchise, this one being a turn-based combat game where you ricochet your bullets and solve battles like puzzles. Train Valley World on August 9th, a train building simulator with some out-of-this-world set pieces. Has some mixed reviews, so maybe wait until it's updated. Nova Drift came out of early access on August 12th, a roguelite about shooting stuff. Actually reminds me a bit of Asteroids and Space Invaders. Guayota on August 13th, a top-down dungeon delving puzzle adventure game. Leximan on August 13th, a narrative puzzle game that looks very inspired by Undertale. Yep, another one of those. Pocket Waifu Desktop Pet on August 13th, one of those idle apps where you can mess around with your little mini Silvervale on your desktop. How cute. Oh, also, it's completely free. Go get her. Arco on August 15th, a turn-based strategy RPG featuring various Mesoamerican-styled settings. Intravenous 2 on August 15th, a top-down tactical action shooter with stealth elements. Just Crow Things on August 15th, a game where you play as a crow and cause mischief, such as pooping on things. A game where you can poop on people is always a good time. Katawa Shoujo Steam port on August 15th. This game finally got released on Steam after over a decade. Just keep in mind that a lot of the game's 18+ content was probably cut out of this version, so go find the other version if you want that. It's free after all. Phantom Spark on August 15th, a racing game that looks inspired by F-Zero with plenty of online functionality to keep you busy. So get good. Sins of a Solar Empire 2 on August 15th, a 4X space strategy game. Go rule the galaxy, my dudes. Castaway on August 16th. It's a 2D Zelda-like. Looks very similar to A Link to the Past and the Game Boy games. Black Myth Wukong on August 19th. We already talked about it, but if you've already played it, you can always get the epic sequel, Black Cotton Wu Nang, out of early access on August 20th. Okay, this is obviously a joke shovelware asset flip game. Don't get it, unless you really want to. My Lovely Empress on August 21st. Manage an empire in order to capture the people's souls in order to resurrect your empress. Classic Marathon Infinity on August 22nd, the third and final of the classic Marathon FPS games. Like the previous two, this one's also free, so go get it. El Rentaros Wanderings on August 22nd, an isekai-ish action RPG where you travel between a fantasy world for the action and a generic Japanese high school for the visual novel cutscenes because of course. Tactical Breach Wizards on August 22nd. Think modern armed combat, but with weaponry powered by magic in this turn-based tactics game. Harem Ranch Life on August 23rd. Farming simulator, harems, you know the drill. Apparently this one needs some patching at the moment though. Ace Stick on August 25th, a 2D Metroidvania with Souls-like elements, in case you haven't had enough of these at this point. To my list it goes. Snezhinka Sentinel Girls 2 on August 26th, a very positively rated 2D twin-stick shooter roguelite with cute waifus that you must protect. Core Keeper came out of early access on August 27th, a dungeon-crawling sandbox survival dungeon crawling game with 1 to 8 players co-op. Crypt Custodian on August 27th, a top-down Metroidvania that has what looks like gameplay similar to 2D Zelda, but it's a Metroidvania. Now that I think about it, Zelda games have a lot in common with Metroidvanias. The Land of the Magnets on August 27th, a 3D artsy platformer inspired by Middle Eastern mythology. Peglin came out of early access on August 27th. Basically Peggle combined with roguelite elements. Sounds addicting as getting pegged.
No, why'd you say that? No!
Gundam Breaker 4 on August 28th, a 3D action combat game featuring Gundams. People are saying to wait for a sale on this one though. Kametsubaki City Ensemble on August 28th. It's an anime-style rhythm game. Has mixed reviews because people are saying the PC version isn't as good as the mobile version. Makes sense if you've played games like this before. Akimbot on August 29th, a 3D action platformer inspired by the classics like Ratchet & Clank. Check it out if you've been craving another game like that because I've heard it's pretty good. Bloodless on August 29th, a 2D combat game with Souls-like elements and pixel art that reminds me of the 4th gen. Dungeon Divers on August 29th, a dungeon-themed puzzler roguelite with procedural generation. Gory Cuddly Carnage on August 29th, a 3D action platformer with a hoverboard and lots of violence. Lots and lots of cuddly violence. Shadow of the Ninja Reborn on August 29th, a reboot of the classic 2D action platformer Shadow of the Ninja from the NES. Squirrel with a Gun on August 29th. A squirrel with a gun creates chaos. What more do you need to know? Go collect your nuts. By force. Uma Musume Pretty Derby Party Dash on August 29th. A party game featuring your horse waifus and several minigames. People are saying the game is overpriced right now though. Finally, last but certainly not least, Visions of Mana on August 29th, an action RPG follow-up to the Mana series with some very nice art and environments. Derpy main character though. There you have it. Finally. Wow. So many games this past month. Hopefully there was something in there to appeal to you guys. If so, let me know in the comments or let me know if I somehow missed anything. As for me, I have a few plans coming up for the channel, one being my 1000 subscriber special stream, which I will announce well ahead of time. I am working on a top 10 favorite moments in the Zelda series video, which I plan to release before Echoes of Wisdom comes out, and I will be streaming that game on hero mode, blind, with 3 hearts. It's gonna be a good time. For you, not for me, just saying.
I've walked miles and miles through fields of senseless pain.
Beyond that, I will be making a video on Medieval Dynasty, that game I've been streaming idly while we watch and react to other stuff. I also will be making a top 10 video game music fan covers video. If you have any covers you want me to check out, feel free to hop in the Discord in the description and share them in the music covers thread. Just keep in mind that I will only be including covers from games I've played myself in the eventual list. Don't forget to caress that like button very sensually. Leave a comment on what you think of any of these news stories or games, and subscribe for more mid content. Check out any of my other content if you haven't yet, such as past RNGs if you want to find more interesting indie games, which I've also made a Steam curator for if you want an easier way to keep track of everything I've featured on my channel. Also check out my other top 10s if you want, follow me on the X Twitter where I post nothing, or catch my non-stream content on Rumble or Odyssey. And as always with this Chinese bootleg quality industry, have high standards, low expectations.
Set your expectations low and prepare to be disappointed.
Okay, I believe you.